Welcome to Impact Masters Podcast in collaboration with Africa's Talking Retold Podcast, where every conversation sparks new insights. Join us as we delve into the stories of extraordinary individuals who are shaping our world. Movers and shakers in tech, policymakers, entrepreneurs, entertainers, and all those whose stories are worth telling. Get ready to be inspired, challenged, and transformed. Welcome, and let's embark on this journey of discovery together. Impact Masters Podcast. You can check us out on all social media platforms. You can also find us across all podcast channels. Simply search for Impact Masters, then subscribe, follow, and share. www.impactmasters.io. Here's your host, Michael Kamathi.
To have that oxygen.
Yeah.
So it brings down the thing of what we do. Are we doing it to add value to the society? You remember that conversation?
But let me be controversial a little bit.
Let's go for it.
So the oxygen only comes from the tree, or the oxygen exists? We just ensure that we maintain the cyclone of it, so that it doesn't escape after the outer layer is depleted by carbon.
Yes. We found oxygen on Earth. That's why we existed. And when we found oxygen, we had enough trees. The system of breathing, mechanics of it.
So this is interesting because also I'm curious enough to know, were there deserts?
Back then?
Yeah.
Deserts were there in existence.
Yes.
I believe they were there in existence.
They were built with the earth.
I believe deserts were there because they contributed to a certain ecosystem. There was balance. Point is, there was balance.
Yes.
And imbalance has been created by man, whereby we are more thinking of industrialization kicked in.
Yeah.
So we need more sand, we need more soil, we need to construct more buildings.
Yeah.
We have need for this. We do more mining.
Yeah.
We do the quarries. We leave the quarries open. So there's a lot that humanity has contributed towards that imbalance. We are cutting trees. Why? Because we want charcoal. And that brings the aspect of now the thing of bioethanol becoming a trend.
But there's lumbering. So it's not only charcoal, but there's
there's also lumbering, yes. Yeah. Now, with the lumbering aspect, it has to be controlled. Now, the lack of control factors is what's causing desertification. You see, it's an issue of, as you said, you always need a leader to lead for there to be order in the society.
Yeah.
The rule of law has to be there to ensure balance is in existence, because Earth itself works with laws.
Yes.
It works with laws.
Do you know, I feel like there's only one solution. You can tell me what is Rotary is doing, because you said it's going even beyond planting trees.
Yes.
Selflessness.
That's it.
Because if you are selflessness, you have that you're not selfish.
Yes.
And you care about others and what is happening to the environment.
Yes.
And your mind is aligned.
Yes.
Even cutting a tree will take a lot of consultation.
For sure.
And also you will mitigate how if I cut one tree, do I plant 5? Do I plant 1?
Exactly.
And all that.
Yes.
And how long it will take to grow so that next person who want to cut a tree, they can have it.
Yes.
So does Rotary have a program to even educate people around these, empower people about these, or is this
Yes. We do the advocacy aspect. Now, like Lavington Eco Rotary Club, remember we have the Rotary, we have the Rotaract, and then we have the Interact.
Yes.
And then what us guys, we have taken it a step further. We are going into primary schools. Remember, 4K Club was revived. And it's good it was revived. Because there's that learning aspect from that level that becomes a habit later on in life. 4K kind of, you see, the nurturing aspect is good also. What I mean by it's good also to humanity itself. Because as a child, if I know how to nurture a tree, take care of a tree, pour some water, do some weeding aspect, I'm learning nurturing skills, which means when it comes to dealing with the human beings, the same skills are transferable. So there's a learning that we've been doing. We started what we call the eco clubs. We have 8 schools we've adopted in Nairobi. And we started with Kawangware Primary School. Kawangware Primary School, we have the non-plastic use. We have dumpsters for plastics. We have dumpsters for all others, even organic. And also we have a compost pit. We teach them how to be able to create compost pit to use in gardens, to promote what we call organic farming, as in kind of deviating them from thinking that you have to use chemicals to grow food.
Yes.
So
GMO.
Exactly. The point is we're trying to tell them that you can easily grow nutritious foods, consume nutritious foods, and this has a health effect to you, basically becoming more healthy.
Yeah.
Now, for example, I'm also part of a campaign that is fighting type 2 diabetes in Kenya. I'm part of a data think tank and an organization called Gordon that's leading in the Directorate of Research and Innovation in the Ministry of Agriculture, whereby we created a curriculum. And this curriculum is to be able to show the linkage between agriculture, health, and education, and ensuring that linkage is in existence. Why? Reason behind it is because there was a period whereby only 4 students had registered to study agriculture at the University of Nairobi. Remember, it's University of Nairobi. Why? Because the young population is not seeing the need to study agriculture. Yet, this is what forms 33% of our GDP, which means something is lacking, which means something is bound to happen, not good for a population that's growing. Lack of food, it's going to happen. Malnutrition is already in existence. Now we are pushing the envelope further. Because if we don't have people to advise the farmers, because with devolution, something was never devolved, and that is extension services. So you find most of the farmers don't know if they have an extension service. They've never seen one after devolution. They've never seen one. And if you go to those offices, they tell you that they don't have the facilitation to do that.
Yeah.
There's an appointed person, but that's 1 to 5,000 farmers.
Yeah.
So you find that most farmers have never seen somebody come into their farm to tell them, your soil is not good. Your soil cannot grow this. You need to grow this. This is where the market is. This is what you should focus on. Plant avocados, plant this. This is good for your soil.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
No one.
So my point is we are not enabling the percentage, which is 33%, to grow.
Yes.
If anything, we're pushing it down.
Yeah.
Which means now, another aspect comes into play, the youth. The youth are running away from it because when you think about farming, you think about poverty.
Yes.
They grew up in such families. Daddy didn't have enough money to even buy me a sweater, to buy me shoes, to buy me socks.
Which is very true.
Which is true. Why? Because you find that of the margin that is being made in agriculture, a farmer is only making 2%. 98% is
sometimes they make negative.
That's my point.
Yes.
That's my point.
Yes.
Because by the time you pay off your loans, you can't even afford anything else left. It's a sad story. So which means that sector has not been enabled to empower the farmer.
Yeah.
And as Lavington Eco Rotary Club, that has been also one of, and even as Rotary International, even as SRAG, there's one of the pillars is called improving livelihoods.
Yeah.
And that's one of it. How can we improve the livelihoods of these communities? What are the gaps? What are the challenges? How can we ensure there's equity in the society? So those are things that need to be addressed. Now, when coming to the linkage, it's an issue of interest. How can we have agriculture technology in place?
Yeah.
Because if you're talking of this generation, you have to find a way to link the relevance of their schooling with what's in the field, the marketplace. What does the market need? We need an soil testing mechanics that will not take 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It will take 2 days.
Yeah.
It will take 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Of which one of the youth that I worked with at Kenyatta University was able to build. He built a soil testing kit called Shamba Assistant that gives you results in 15 seconds.
Yeah.
As opposed to 2 weeks.
Yes.
And this is something you can have, you can own, you can have it in your house, or a cooperative can own. So when a farmer has it, they can easily lease out from each other.
Yes.
Enabling another whole, business aspect, commercial aspect to come into play. So at the end of the day, as you can tell, we as Rotarians look to see where can we enable equity in the society. For the farmers, what can we do? Agroforestry, how can we help you to be able to nurture nature and still, produce the kind of food that's needed? Because 37% of our soil in Kenya is degraded, and sadly to say so.
Yes.
So if it's degraded, then what kind of quality of food are we producing?
Yeah.
Is it good for export market? It's not good for, why? Because it doesn't meet this and these standards.
Yeah.
Does a farmer know this? They don't know this. So you see, so as Rotarians, we come together to kind of map out what are the deficiencies to enable this equity in the society, to enable humanity to continue growing and existing. So, as I said, Lavington Eco focus was environmental matters, everything to do with the environment, not just growing trees, but ensuring they're nurtured. So for each student in each school, we give them a tree to grow with. So this is your tree. And we have mechanisms, measures in such a way that we do monitor that.
Yes.
Now, the plastic waste, they put it together somewhere. There's a company that comes, collect, and pays for that plastic. That money goes back to the students to have what you call free food, free lunch. You see what I mean?
I see.
So it becomes a whole ecosystem that's enabling itself. They are taking care of the they're taking care of the environment. And guess what? The money that's coming out of this, guess what's happening? It's feeding them. It's meeting their needs as students.
Yeah.
We don't have enough pencils, enough books. We don't have kids, don't have sweaters. Guess what? This kit right here, as a result of your effort to add value to your own environment, we will take care of that problem for you. So we are working as a team, collaboration here. You take care of that. Let's find a way for this to take care of you.
Excellent.
You see what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I get the point.
Yes.
And
yes.
If someone is listening, how do you join Rotary?
Rotary is easy. In every region, there's a Rotary club. As I said, we have different pillars.
Yeah.
We have the education aspect. We have the child and mother care. We have the wash aspect. And then also now we have the environmental aspect that was added. Improving livelihoods is another aspect of it. Yeah. We have Rotary clubs that even started circles in communities to enable those communities to be able to build themselves instead of waiting for a handout from the government. We have Rotary clubs like here in Nairobi. Lavington Eco is working with the CBO Mau Mau. And also it's working with they're called
Mau Mau.
There's a CBO called Mau Mau in Kawangware. Not the original one.
Okay.
Yeah, this is just
I think
a name.
that Mau Mau name should be patented so that people stop using it. Misusing it. Because I think that is misusing it.
I think so too.
Every time I hear Mau Mau, there's something that comes in my mind. So and I hear there's Mau Mau.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, go ahead.
It's okay. It's okay. So just pointing out, now, a club there are different clubs. There are 133 clubs. You're free to join. And so the point
in Kenya, the 133 clubs
in the district.
That is Kenya, Ethiopia.
Yes. So you're free to join the one that is in your locality. Like in Nairobi, I think we're about 4 or 5 clubs. So you'll find in maybe Kiambu, there's Murang'a. You go to Kisumu.
But what are the
Malindi. The charges, each club has its own requirements.
Oh, okay.
Now, the one that where I serve as a director, just 15,000 yearly fee is needed. And that's basically to add to something called the foundation. There's a foundation pot. The foundation is to collect money from different clubs in order to be able to... Remember, we're all fighting the same problem. We're all meeting the same need. And that's why we all collectively came together. So whatever we contribute as individuals, as clubs, goes to that cause in addition to supporting what you're doing at the local level.
Yeah.
Also on the global level.
Yeah.
So what happens with that? The Rotary also has grants because we do get support from different institutions. We work with governments. We work with the private sector.
Yeah.
Remember, it's all enabling meeting a certain need in the society.
Yeah.
So there are those grants. For example, now when we are applying for a grant and we need more money than we ourselves have collected as a club, we go to that pot and apply for a grant. Remember, the pot is global. It's not just local. Yeah. So we apply there and then we get. I know they spent about 87.5 million last year on grants.
US dollars or Canadian?
That was US dollars. Okay. That was last year.
Across the
global. The global, yeah. So which means you can tell that a lot is happening on the ground. So this is what contributes to that. Yeah. So there's that value addition of the network you kind of get from the club. You get, we have all members from all offices, from the office of the president to those in the AU, to those in the UN. Yeah. Like the work that you're doing as Lavington Eco Rotary Club, you're working with UNEP in the cleanup of Kericho River. We started somewhere just to create a demo example of what can be done with that community part of that, because we have to teach them to take care of their own environment.
Yes.
And so we involved NMS at that time for that, because there's a time that even the president himself, the former president, put a mandate, an order for Nairobi, the NMS, to be able to take care of cleaning up of the river. It's something that has to be continual because we have informal sectors. We have houses being built along the rivers.
Yeah.
So it's an issue of now urban planning comes into play. Because, sad stories, when we were cleaning those rivers, do you know we were finding medical waste in those rivers?
Yes.
Which means there's a hospital that's dumping.
Absolutely.
So implication is laws are not they're there, but they are not being followed. Which means enforcement becomes another whole different story altogether.
And to be fair, by the way, we need to fix our drainage.
Big time.
Yes, because we can put all these well-sounding policies.
Yes.
Talk.
Yes.
But if we don't implement some of this, and it's not rocket science.
It's easy.
Like in Nairobi West, drainage is becoming a menace.
Yes.
You go to the airport, the drainage is leaking. You go to the street, drainage is leaking.
Yes.
Lavington itself here, drainage is leaking.
True.
Can we find a proper way of, because once we solve that, then we reduce even what goes to the Nairobi River.
Exactly.
And then start maybe emphasizing and empowering people and educating them the importance of garbage. Not only that, but also even some of the funds that we have or the avenues that we have to get this. Can we have garbage collection points which are reachable? Because I'll be honest with you, if this was implemented really well, no one in their right mind would throw garbage anywhere, whereas there's a place to dump it.
Yes.
If you travel from here to Nakuru, for example, how many places you can get to throw your garbage unless you stop in a petrol station.
Exactly.
But you can have these things along the highway.
Exactly. Right? Or even in the vehicle itself. That becomes a habit. Well, but it has to become a habit.
But think of it this way, and I want to be fair to even the people with the vehicles and all that.
Gotcha.
That if say a bus which has 100 people traveling from here to, I don't know, Nakuru.
Okay.
If each of those threw a tin or something,
that's a lot.
What kind of collection you need, right?
Exactly.
So we need to also as since government puts things in place, and I think even private sector can contribute to this.
Yes.
I see people like, telcos.
Yes.
I'm sure even Africa Stocking.
Yes.
All these, private companies.
Yes.
Can we also help out in terms of how do we ensure that,
such
things
in
are
existence?
Yes,
it's possible. I remember when I was growing up, we had city council. And city council, we had city council beans. I don't know which year you were born, but in my time we had city council beans. They were metallic. Every house had one.
I wasn't born in the city, so
maybe
that,
okay. But in the city itself, Nairobi City Council, we had beans, and they were metallic. And they had scheduled days of being picked up and emptied. At some point, I don't know what happened to Nairobi City Council, that stopped. We had people who were sweeping roads every single day. This was then, when I was growing up as a child. So later on, when I started seeing things are not...
people realize they could hand without working. That's what they realize. Because if the corruption is at the top, then it trickles down. You realize, if you're getting your billions there, I'll be getting my 10K, whatever, without doing anything. So I think it's more of accountability, like accountability, discipline from the top. Because, and again, I repeat what I was trying to put across here. Human or the nature itself, it has to be balanced, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like if you are the head of the house, for instance. If your kid sees you're doing something, not saying it, doing it,
just doing it,
of course they will do it at some point.
They will.
If they see you saying something, they will say it at some point.
Gotcha.
But let's stick to the doing. So even our leaders that you have elected, the leaders who are appointed, because leaders are everywhere.
Every corner.
We need to serve by example. Right? And everything will follow.
Literally.
It might not happen on the ground the way you see it at the top, but it will happen in a way that actually will affect even at the top.
I agree also.
Yes.
I agree. Yeah, so definitely there's that responsibility that starts from the top, and there's that push and engagement that forces the top to do what needs to be done. So if things don't work out the way they're supposed to be in a certain society, certain community, certain neighborhood, if we ourselves come together from people in that neighborhood and do something about it, it has a ripple effect of growing to a point whereby by the time this leader is coming to look for my votes, we have a voice. There's something I cannot build in Runda Estate. There's a certain house I cannot build in Karen. Why? Because the people in that neighborhood association will not allow it. They are working as a community.
Yes.
As a family. This is our standard. This is how we have to maintain this. This is us.
Yeah.
I mean, they cannot allow skyscrapers some places. You see what I mean?
Yes.
They cannot. Why? Because they themselves have identified what needs to be done and what needs to be in existence and what cannot be allowed. They know that. So the point is, grassroots does work. And it's far much more effective if the top down doesn't work, the bottom up has a way of forcing the top down to work.
The bottom up. So, does this now boil down to leaders without a title, whereby everyone takes the position of trying to provide the change they seek?
Yes.
But you see, I feel like that is distributing the blame and not the power.
Okay.
Because you know, when you expect everything from everyone, you get nothing from no one.
Yes.
You know that, right?
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And this is scientifically, psychologically,
yes,
everything.
For sure.
So we also need to be careful with the bottom-up approach, whereby we are like. Even someone actually said this, and I think I relate to it.
Yes.
When there was campaigns, it was bottom up. It was the border guy, the Mama Mboga, and everyone.
Yes.
But now that someone is getting this docket, we didn't see that.
We didn't see that.
To be honest,
we saw billions.
We saw billions and millions rewarded, right? And even those who, in one way or the other, got there.
Yes.
In one way, they didn't get it, right?
Yes.
So we need to be very honest, because even I'm not advocating that someone who was not qualified should have been appointed.
Yes, sir.
I'm saying that we have smart guys like Engineer Felix. We have other people.
Yes.
So many of them that we know, you
hundreds,
and I know,
hundreds.
but they never get there because.
Certain politics.
So we need to be very honest with our conversation.
True.
And not only in Kenya, by the way.
Yes,
this is as Africans.
It's everywhere.
Because once we do that,
we're
able to manage our resources better.
Big time.
We're able to plan better.
For sure.
We're able to implement better.
Yes, sir.
Because everyone is living purpose-driven
life. As a person,
that's something I think people need to get to align with to an extent that we are way forward thinking as opposed to backward thinking.
Big time.
And what I mean by this forward thinking is like, what will happen 60, 50, 100 years from now? Because we need to start preparing right now. As you said, it's like a tree.
Yes.
If we plant one here, it will be harvested, it will help, it will be, all these advantages will be seen in 50 years.
Yes.
But what you are living right now is a microwave result.
Yes.
Put in 5 seconds, you get something that is ready.
I see what you mean.
But how healthy, how important that is.
Yes.
So maybe even now that you're in a position of influence with Rotaract, you have your experience, you are an engineer.
Yes.
So you're doing all these things.
Okay.
It takes collective approach.
Work. Yes, it does. I agree to that.
Honest, because there is collective approach which is not honest.
Honest itself,
And that's why I asked this intentionally.
I see.
We plant, we grow.
But
who harvests?
Who harvests it? Yeah.
That was a trick kind of question to make us think outside the box.
It's true.
So if we plan together,
I got you.
Let's harvest together.
And
let's know that this is for all of us.
Now, that brings something of interest. And this is the carbon credit.
Yeah.
The carbon credit is a mechanism of awarding, planting of trees, or doing things that are promoting the good existence of nature, and having monetary value attached to it. Why it's of interest right now? It's an economy on itself. Why we have the Paris Agreement. We have the Kyoto Protocols and Agreement, and the point is, it was realized that there has to be an incentive for people to get engaged in that. As you said earlier on, I planted the tree, but who harvested? How did it benefit me or the community? If I know that this tree I plant, I'll be getting a certain monetary value out of it by nurturing it. Do you know I will be watching this tree till the day I'll pass it to my child to keep watching it?
Yes.
Because there's money coming out of it.
Yes. That's how I knew my trees were harvested without me.
Yes.
Because every time I passed that primary school, I used to keep track of how tall is it?
Yes.
Is it doing well?
Yes, I see.
Do I need to involve myself?
Yes.
But I realized also after some point when it was big enough, because that's like maybe 15, it was a softwood tree.
Gotcha. Okay.
15 years you can harvest it. So I realized, there are younger trees, but now the bigger ones are no longer there. I understand, by the way, because they used them to build. When I was there, the classes were wooden.
Okay.
So they upgraded to storage. What do you call these?
Shelves.
The one that are made using stones.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So they use those as a pillars and whatnot rather than buying the wood.
I see.
So I totally understand, but at least they could have, find a way to say, you know what,
we appreciate you.
You guys planted these trees.
This is what it has done.
And maybe we could have even planted
contributed
more. Right?
Exactly.
So if you think about that process, it's very, very important. And that's why you see when the previous government, that was the first government to implement 2010 Constitution, had a lot of problems with consultation. And public participation.
Yes.
Because we assume, in leadership, we are the bosses.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be, we should be the servants.
Yes.
And every time, and I'm not saying that in every nitty-gritty thing, you need to call the whole constituents and ask them what they think.
But
all I'm saying is that
accountability.
Be as involving, be as transparent.
That's it.
And also embrace feedback.
That's a point.
Yes.
In fact, in Mangu High School, of all the Catholic schools in Kenya, we were rewarded for having the best environment program. We've nurtured so many trees. In fact, even the cooking aspect is all renewable energy because we are embracing the issue of carbon footprint. Having as less as possible in that environment. And also the school having an ecosystem that kind of takes care of itself. We are not planting to cut. We are planting to ensure there's enough oxygen for sure. The aesthetic appeal of it also. The soil is good enough because the trees do contribute nitrogen to the soil. So which is good for farming aspect. We have the agriculture students who can be able to kind of further up on that one. So the point of even starting from the primary school to teach them those habits in such a way they can. You see, they say train a child, and then when they're of age, they will still always come back to it. Other than just running away from it. Because what you know is what you do. And that becomes their normal. So that's why Lavington Eco has those eco clubs in primary schools, which has been impactful in some way. As you can tell, the monetary value that comes from the plastic sold is feeding them. The school feeding program.
So they see even the importance of collecting the plastic bottles.
They see the value.
Actually, they can collect them from somewhere else to
bring them here to get more money.
For sure.
You see what I mean? And that's why I was talking about the incentives of the carbon footprint, the carbon credit. Right now, I know a carbon credit can go up to $300 per carbon credit, which is 1 ton of carbon dioxide.
How do you measure that?
Sequestration of it. There are many ways of doing that measurement. For example, if it's maybe motorbikes, this motorbikes produces this for this amount of fuel. So instead of putting this fuel, what about if it's an electric bike? Then how much of that CO2 have you prevented from going back into the air? You see what I mean? There's certain trees like the mangroves, they produce more oxygen, and they absorb more carbon dioxide. There are measurements for that. There are algorithms set in measuring that. And there are institutes and there are bodies that are certified to ensure the credibility of that. So there's a whole system surrounding the credibility of the measurement in such a way that even communities can come together. In fact, the pilot in down in the coast of Kenya in Mombasa, there's a group that was growing mangroves, and a certain organization which was a pilot was successful, and whatever CO2 was being kind of measured that is being absorbed by these trees, the mangroves, the money is given to that society, that community to build themselves. So it becomes an incentive that whatever we are getting from these trees is monetary value that we can use as a society, as a village, to build that thing which we need in order to improve our existence, to improve our livelihood. So the monetary value is important.
But that can only grow in a coastal region, right?
That's the mangrove water bodies, But now we have mangroves, they promote 10 times more biodiversity. That's why they have greater value than other trees. They promote more. They absorb more CO2. Carbon sequestration is absorbing of CO2 into the soil. So they do much of that compared to other trees. So that does not negate that the other trees can also need to be planted because there's a value they're giving too. So,
do you think government initiative like what Rwanda is doing with the electric cars, I understand also if you buy a more newer car, it's zero taxation. And there are more new cars in Rwanda than any other place in East Africa.
Yes.
Also, there are more electric cars in Rwanda than any other country in East Africa. It's a pretty small country, but it's really noticeable.
It is.
Even motorbikes, because they use a lot of boda-bodas and motorbikes.
So
such initiatives, how can we scale them, even with these districts and whatnot?
Easy. What we have, in fact, right now, we have a number of organizations promoting the same in Kenya. Use of electric motorbikes. You have like the EcoBoda. There are so many of them. It's an issue of what kind of incentives can they get to continue that industry, manufacturing industry. Manufacturing industry, they are heavily taxed. So if there's a way, as the reason as to why we started having so many motorbikes on the road, it's because there was tariff that had been removed for them to be imported. And also when it came to the solar panels, and that's why Kenya right now, 90% of our energy is renewable energy. So there was a time solar panels were coming without being taxed. I don't know what it is right now, but such kind of incentives promote that kind of behavior. And it's good. Now, Rwanda can easily claim that, you see, the number of vehicles we have are this, and they all use this, and the kind of size of engine they have is this, and therefore the amount of carbon dioxide that is not being produced by these cars is this amount.
Yes.
You see, that calculation is easy.
Yes.
And so they can easily claim, because you see, if they are part of the Paris sign agreement, they can easily come to now Google, tell Google, these are the carbon offsets we have. Can you buy them from us? Because all the companies that have signed up, like Shell, we have all these companies that have signed up to be able, because this is how much carbon dioxide their manufacturing sector does produce. So they have to come up with a way to reverse that. And since they cannot grow all these trees, and see they still have to continue maybe using coal to some level, then they come and buy carbon offsets from these organizations, these countries, these companies, these communities. So they put the money there in order to justify them to continue doing the stuff that is avoiding CO2 in the air.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
I see what you mean.
Yes.
And without further ado, this brings us almost to a close. That was a very good conversation that needs to be happening constantly. And I would like, as any other guest I've invited here, to give us a parting shot.
Mine is easy. The environment we live in, let's find a way to make it better.
Yeah.
It doesn't take too much.
Yeah.
People still have the habit of throwing things everywhere and anywhere. Take a habit of being conscious of what you throw, where you throw.
Yeah.
I know some things people have learned over the years since they were kids, but it takes one person, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people to be conscious of the environment. We all want a better environment. And it's not the work of the government to do that, but it's our own responsibility to ensure we have a better environment. So let's join Rotary Club or join the efforts of other people like SRAG, which is an international body, and who are enabling that ecosystem and that behavior to continue.
Amazing stuff. That was Engineer Felix Kariuki, and this is Africa's Talking Podcasts, Africa's Talking Customer Conversations, Africa's Talking Powers Conversation across Africa. We power the communication between businesses, governments, and organizations of all sizes and their customers or citizens on our SMS, USSD, airtime, and voice gateways and APIs, ensuring that Africa's Talking supports GDPR data compliance, communication on our future-ready customer solution, our data platform called Ilarion. And in collaboration with Impact Masters, bringing you impact conversations around tech ecosystem with Africans who are making moves, shakers, and doing it actually. Not just talking about it, but just doing it on the ground. And each and every other time we converse, we try to influence and change your mindset in thinking. Not only thinking, but believing that Africa should be the leader in every angle because we got it. We have the talent, we have the skills. We just need to believe in ourselves. Thank you so much. Until next time, I'm your host, Michael Kimathi, or MK if you want. Thank you.